Hello and welcome to Haunted by the Past. Welcome to this episode of Haunted by the Past, where we are back in Queenscliff, Victoria, Australia. This time, I will be exploring the experiences from ex-employees of two well-known establishments, one a public house and the other a guest house. The first story comes from an ex-chef of a public house. The following information is taken from the Queenscliff Brewhouse website. Quote, "Many years ago, when Queenscliff's Palace Hotel was opened at 2 Gellibrand Street in 1879, the hotel was the first two-storey masonry hotel in Queenscliff, and it featured an accompanying timber observation. The hotel changed its name to the Esplanade Hotel in 1882 and was regarded as the Fisherman's Hotel, undoubtedly due to its adjacency to the low-lying Fisherman's Flat. The hotel has enjoyed several owners over the 144 years and in 2016 changed hands to the current owners and was renamed the Queenscliff Brewhouse." End quote. The ex-chef of the now Queenscliff Brewhouse has asked to remain anonymous. This is his story. "Probably late 1990, I was the chef at the Esplanade. About 2 a.m. one morning, I was at the pub with my mate John. He was the barman there. I used to stay around and talk to John after closing and drink beer. John did not drink. This morning, the whole hotel was locked up and we were the only two people there. All of a sudden, we both looked up to the door and saw a woman near the entrance moving towards the stairs. I said words to the effect of, 'Who the F was that?' We both walked over there and the only place she could have gone was upstairs. We both went up the residential area upstairs, but there was no one staying there at the time. At the top of the stairs and along the corridors, there was the very strong smell of perfume. We both knew that we had seen somebody, so we checked every single room, including under the beds, in the cupboards, etc. There was no one there. By the time we finished searching, the smell of perfume had gone. We then checked all through the bottom level of the pub and there was nobody there. All the doors were locked and the hotel was secure. Neither John or I knew what happened that night and I will never forget it. It was not scary, but eerie. Over the years, I spent time alone in the Esplanade and the Royal, but this was the only incident that I experienced. If John had not been there that night, I would have questioned my sanity. I've been in the cellar basement of the Royal at night by myself. This was used as the town morgue in the 1800s. I always found it eerie down there when alone, but nothing in particular happened. I've also been alone in the basement of the exhibition building in Melbourne at night, which I believe was used as a morgue at one time. Same sort of feeling, just eerie." End quote. Well, that's a very interesting story indeed. I then messaged him back to ask if he could remember what kind of clothing she wore to try and determine the era possibly. This is what he described. Quote, "She was definitely wearing a long dress, but we only saw her for a split second, side on. I seem to recall the dress was light coloured, maybe cream, with puffy or baggy sleeves. I'm not even sure what colour her hair was, but I think maybe light brown. And in a bun, I think. Sorry, I can't be more specific." End quote. Wow, such a fascinating experience you had there. To see an actual full body apparition is pretty rare, I guess. But it always seems to happen when you least expect it. Now, he didn't say whether he was a skeptic before, but I bet he's not anymore. Now, I did a quick search for any deaths at the then Esplanade, and the only one I could find was from 1924. A Catherine Heenan according to the newspapers, was a servant employed at the Esplanade Hotel, and she was found in the morning dead in her bed on the 3rd of April 1924. The newspaper states that she was in good health when she retired to rest, and at the time her relatives were unable to be traced, which leads me to believe that she may have been staying at her place of employment. So is it possible that she died at the Esplanade? Hard to tell. I can't find any other reports anywhere else on the newspaper site, so it's possible. Prior to this, in 1906, Mrs. Mary Peterson made an application to carry on the business of the hotel after her husband passed away. So maybe it was Mary roaming the hotel. So either way, Catherine or Mary, who knows? Another article in 1908, however, states that the license was again transferred from Mary to another male proprietor. So she only actually had the hotel for 2 years. So I don't know what happened to her. So I can't find any trace of her death or anything like that. And I'm not sure where Catherine Heenan was buried. I've looked on the grave websites and I can't find anything under her name around that year. Some in 1933, but not the correct date, unfortunately. So that's the first experience. I visited the Queenscliff Brewhouse not so long ago, and I spoke to the barman there, and I mentioned the story to him, and he said he hadn't felt anything, but the current chef, funnily enough, would not stay alone in the pub on his own. So that's interesting. The next story I want to share with you is from a lady named Helene. Helene's story centres around the Seaview Guesthouse, which is featured in another Queenscliff Ghost episode that briefly goes into the history of the building. Helene's family owned and ran the Seaview Guesthouse back in 1995. The building went through renovations, and it's thought that a renovation can actually disturb the spirits of the past. Various members of the family, including Helene, have experienced some sort of paranormal episode whilst being alone there. The layout back in the 90s is slightly different to how it is now. I'll firstly show you the sketch that Helene drew for me, showing the configuration back then in the 90s. This shows the bottom floor with the gallery to the right. So where Helene has drawn a circle, this indicates where a lamp would sit in the dining room. It is this lamp that Helene would become afraid of. She could never quite put her finger on why it bothered her so, but every night when she went to turn off the light at night, this particular lamp made her feel uneasy. The floor above had all the guest rooms around the perimeter and some in the middle. This was back before they had en suites, so guests shared a main shower bathroom and lounge area. I believe all the rooms now have their own bathrooms. Room 13 is directly above the lamp, which is situated in the dining room, as previously mentioned. Helene believes that a female maid named Mary hung herself in room 13 when her fiancé sailor drowned at sea. Another story from another source is that a maid drowned in the well. I'm not sure where the well was, but most houses back when they were first built did have wells as a source of water. I cannot, up until this point, find any evidence through Trove newspapers of either death so far. Helene's father was alone in the guest house one evening during renovations when he heard what sounded like a party going on at the end of the building. He thought this was very odd, as no one at that time was staying in the guest house. So he left his room and went to investigate. However, when he got to where the sound was coming from, suddenly it stopped. No one was around. On another occasion, Helene's brother was staying in the living quarters, was having a shower in the then shared bathroom, when he heard a door slam. Now he knew he was alone, so he got out of the shower to investigate, thinking it maybe was an intruder or maybe a member of the family. Again, there were no guests staying in the house at that time. As he stepped out into the corridor, naked, he felt a cold breeze go through him. There were no windows or doors open at that time. He swiftly went back into the bathroom and closed the door. But that's not the only occurrence to happen in the old bathroom before renovated into room 17. When the mirror in the bathroom was fogged up through condensation, perfect circles would appear by unseen hands. Was this also Mary? Helene was so sure that Mary was looking after her that she felt her presence when she moved house. Eventually, when satisfied Helene was safe, Mary's presence could be felt no more. Wow, it's one thing to visit a haunted location, but another to have their spirit actually follow you home. It does seem, though, that Mary was looking after Helene, so she wasn't a threat. Still not sure how comfortable I would be, though. And those circles, I wonder what they meant. Some message. In a previous episode, I did mention a lady spirit who has been seen wandering from room to room in period dress. Was this Mary? Or was it another female spirit? Perhaps the maid that is alleged to have drowned in the well? Let me know if you visited either of these locations. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay spooky.